I first met Mark Jensen and Lucy Fielding in a drafting workshop at the Sunset Writers Collective 5 years ago on a damp October evening when the coffee ran out before the cookies did. I'd come in clutching a half-finished screenplay entitled Wildflower Season, my freshman thesis piece, giddy with naivete and a head full of dreams. I slid into the circle, introduced myself, and watched Mark shift in his chair when I read the opening scene. A young woman stumbling through a meadow of sunflowers as twilight settled, her tears gilded gold by the dying light. Lucy tapped her pencil against her notebook, her eyes alight. "That's quite vivid," she'd said. "But gold tears, do you really want to tip into fantasy? Or stay anchored in gritty reality? The rest has to match." So I swallowed and said, "I'm exploring memory as magic, but I want it to feel honest." Mark leaned forward. "It's promising, but you need structure. This feels like a dream diary." Their words stuck to me like burrs. Yet after class, they complimented my voice and invited me to pitch Wildflower Season to their fledgling production company. I thought I'd died and gone to Sundance. My first formal pitch was a month later, at Mark's apartment-turned-office in Echo Park. Lucy served sparkling water. Mark knocked back an energy drink. I pulled out my pages, heart pounding as I read the logline. In a dying Californian town, a grieving woman discovers her past in petals, unlocking a secret that could save her future. They nodded, scribbled notes. My pulse raced with possibilities. Then came the questions. What's her inciting incident? Who's the secret killer, metaphorical or literal? Where's the tension? Tears alone don't keep an audience awake. They were right, but I felt the first prickle of dread. I had no answers. My script was my refuge, not a blueprint. I slumped, offered a shaky smile. "I'll tighten it up." They sent polite notes the next week. "Nice voice, strong imagery, needs punch." I rewrote, adding a bank robbery gone wrong, a subplot about the Sunflower Farm's corporate buyout. I peppered it with hard lines. "When the petals fall, so do our lies." I returned to Mark's apartment. This time Lucy raised an eyebrow at my added violence. Mark asked for more character motivation. They thanked me, promised another look. Weeks later, my inbox showed the dreaded line. "Thank you for submitting your revised script. We've decided not to move forward at this time. Best wishes." My hands shook. I wondered if my dreams had shutters now. I packed away the script and told myself I'd try again. My second pitch came as a private meeting in a coffee shop across from their office. I carried my polished draft in a leather folio, nearly bursting with confidence, even after the rejection. I dazzled them with my revisions, streaming flashbacks, a charismatic drifter named Finn, a final act twist so brutal it would leave audiences reeling. Lucy leaned forward, hair brushing her chin. "The twist is good, but it undermines the themes you set up. We want something cohesive." Mark tapped his lip. "It's dark. We'd need a bigger budget than we have. Locals, stunts, night shoots. Are you open to scaling back, a contained drama?" I blinked. Scale back? That was like asking Van Gogh to swap his palette. I stumbled, lost my steam. They gave me gentle shakes on the head and sent me back into the rain. That second rejection devastated me. I quit the drafting workshop, locked the folio in my desk, and told myself scriptwriting was a childish pipe dream. I drifted into a marketing job, where I wrote press releases for toothpaste and pet shampoo. I told myself I was practical, grown up, but every night I'd wake at 3 a.m. spreadsheet eyes wide, missing the scent of ink and the whisper of mouse clicks as I typed dialogue that thrummed in my bones. 2 years passed, then came my surprise, a call from Jordan Kim, a pen pal turned indie producer. "I love that old script of yours," she said, her voice bright over the crackle. "I want to make it a short film. No budget, a crew of believers. I'll shoot on my Canon T3. We'll have fun." My pulse thundered. I dusted off the folio, printed out Wildflower Season scene by scene. The short condensed the story, only the protagonist Mara, the sunflower farm, the drifter Finn. We shot in a friend's grandparents' field, wildflowers taller than us, and at dusk, Jordan coaxed tears from our actress, the golden light turning her grief incandescent. The short film Wildflower debuted at a microfilm festival. It won Best Cinematography and a special mention for haunting narrative. Jordan posted it online. Friends shared it. It caught fire among cinephiles. Racked up 20,000 views. Comments gushed. Stunning visuals. That twist gave me chills. I felt the old thrill in my gut. This was why I wrote scripts. Then one morning, I spotted a trade magazine banner, breaking Hollywood studio green lights, feature adaptation of popular short Wildflower. My heart leapt. That short you made? I called Jordan. She laughed. It's insane. I got a call from Meridian Pictures. They want the feature rights. They paid Jordan a small option fee, and within weeks hired a team to expand the short into a full script. I read headlines. Meridian hires screenwriter Max Rivera for Wildflowers. No mention of my name. Drive in theaters to premiere trailer next month. I felt the old sting of rejection. The same duo who'd laughed at my imagery, who'd told me twice to tear out my pages. Mark and Lucy had bought tickets on opening weekend. They were going to see the film adaptation of my script in theaters, their wallets supporting a story I'd birthed. A story that had my blood in its pages. I stormed into the Sunset Writers Collective. Breath wild. Mark and Lucy were there, arms folded as they ran their mouths about the brilliant concept and how fresh visuals would make this a summer blockbuster. I pinned them with my eyes. Lucy offered a half smile. I'd love to see how they handled your twist on the big screen, she said coolly. Mark clapped me on the shoulder. See you at opening night, right? First round's on me. I flinched. My name would be nowhere in the credits. My contract was a ghost document. I felt foolish for trusting them. But a spark lit inside me, a need for recognition, for justice. I'll be there, I said, voice quiet but steely. I wouldn't miss it. That night, I pored over my old folio by the yellow lamp. Scene after scene, I traced my script's DNA, the dust-beaten sunflowers, the code of the twist, Mara's heartbreak. I realized Wildflower season wasn't just the story. They were adapting my soul. I couldn't let them vanish into the skyline of flashing marquees. I logged into an online legal forms store, researched Writers Guild credits, option agreements, underlying rights clauses. I drafted an email to Meridian's legal department, a concise cover letter, synopsis of credits, my production company info. Jordan's indie outfit credited me as creator. I attached evidence, the original title page, Festival Laurels, Jordan's producer agreement naming me. I wrote with urgency. While Meridian holds the option rights through Jordan's deal, it has come to my attention that neither the screen credit nor the source material attribution has been finalized. I request an immediate review of the crediting agreement to ensure compliance with WGA guidelines and proper screen credit for the original creator. Then I hesitated. Sending that would brand me a litigious writer, an antagonist, not a collaborator. But if I didn't, my words would play across the silver screen with no acknowledgement. I squared my shoulders and hit send. The reply came 2 days later, fat with corporate letterhead. Dear Miss Davenport, thank you for your inquiry regarding the feature adaptation of Wildflower. We have reviewed your claim and can confirm that the underlying copyright is held by Meridian Pictures per our option agreement with Jordan Kim Productions. As such, credit for original story will appear in the final credits as follows. Based on a concept by Allegra Davenport, in compliance with industry standards, we appreciate your contribution to this project. Sincerely, Meridian Pictures Legal Affairs. I read the line based on a concept by Allegra Davenport 6 times. It wasn't screenplay by, not written by, but it was concept by. It was my concept. I felt my lungs fill with air. Lucy and Mark could buy tickets. They could clap in the dark, unaware of my smile. I had my credit. Now opening weekend loomed. I had 2 tickets to the historic Crestwood Cinema, rows of red velvet seats, a single 50-foot screen, and those old school cups that clinked when you raised them. I texted Jordan, "Opening Friday, you in?" She replied with a string of popcorn emojis. We'd sit in the second row near the exit so we could slip out if the film butchered my dialogue. On Friday morning, I watched the trailer online. Images familiar but rearranged, the drifter's tragic backstory expanded, CGI-enhanced sunflower fields, a voice-over hinting at a conspiracy subplot I never wrote. I winced, then shrugged. It was their film now. My film would always live on my shelf. In that creased folio, in the hush of midnight typing, I printed 2 boarding passes, one for me, one for Jordan. They were just tickets, but to me they were passage into a new act, from rejected writer to credited creator, from solitary sleepless nights to shared triumph. I tucked the passes into my jacket and stepped outside, the autumn air crisp with promise. That evening, I'd sit in the dark, the the swirl of popcorn in my lap, and watch my story flicker to life. I'd applaud the scenes that echoed my heart, cringe at the ones they rewrote, and hold on to the credit that bore my name. Because at the end of the night, when the lights came up and credits rolled, I would stand Jordan at my side and mark that moment as the dawn of my true arrival. Night draped itself over Crestwood Cinema like velvet as Jordan and I settled into our seats. The projector clicked on, its bright beams slicing through the darkness, painting the screen with the first shot of golden sunflowers swaying against a dusk sky. I felt the electric thrill in my chest, the same surge I'd felt the first time I saw my words come alive on a page, only magnified by the hush of the audience and the scope of the theater. Beside me, Jordan nudged my arm. Ready? I swallowed, heart pounding. More than ever. The opening credits rolled, a cascade of typefaces, producers, cinematographers, lead actors. Then, in understated all caps against a backdrop of artful brushstrokes, 3 simple lines, based on a concept by a LLEGRADAV in PORT wildflower. Season. A hush fell, broken only by my ragged exhale. Jordan squeezed my hand, tears pricked her eyes. I felt both justified and vulnerable, vindicated by the credit, exposed by the world watching my dream unfold. The film began. They opened on Martha Ridgway, played by the luminous Emma Novak, stumbling through the sunflower fields I had imagined in my dorm room daydreams. The drifter Finn Cameron Lee appeared at twilight, offering a crooked grin that matched my original notes almost perfectly. Yet there were changes, added orchestral swells, a subplot involving a corporate land dispute, an entirely new character, a weathered sheriff, who never existed in my script. I braced myself, willing myself to stay open as my story was refashioned. Scene by scene, I recognized my fingerprints, the way Mara's tears glinted in that golden light, the whispered line, "These petals hold the ghosts we left behind," delivered in a trembling hush, and then the detour they'd taken, a CGI-infused storm that washed away half the sunflowers, a montage of courtroom drama I never penned. I watched with fascination, as if witnessing a parallel universe spun from my own. When Finn revealed the buried letter at the film's climax, his voice quivering, I felt my chest tighten. The original twist, the suffocation of memory, the reclaiming of identity, was still there, beating at the heart of the story. And then, in the final moments, Mara's triumph as she planted new seeds in the devastated field. I clenched my fists, the raised screen too bright to see clearly. The theater was silent until the credits began to roll again. Footsteps, the rustle of candy wrappers, the murmur of reactions. I remained still, letting the moment soak in as Emma Novak, Cameron Lee, and the supporting cast marched by. Then, near the end, a block of names I scanned with prayer. Original screenplay by Max Rivera. Story. Concept by Allegra Davenport. Produced by Jordan Kim. My skin tingled, and I realized I was smiling so hard my cheeks hurt. Jordan leaned over. "They got it right," I nodded, voice thick. "They did." In the lobby, the lights came on, and the crowd spilled into the cool night air. People buzzed. Head. Twist. Emma Novak was brilliant. I need to read the book. I lingered, waiting for my producer friend. I spotted Jordan at the concession stand, chatting with an enthusiastic teen clutching a DVD of the short film. "Jordan," I called, crossing the carpeted aisle. She turned, eyes bright. "They're doing a Q&A next door," she said, pointing toward a smaller screening room. "Let's go." We slipped into the Q&A, joining a handful of other fans and critics. The director, a tall woman named Alicia Cho, took the stage with a microphone. She spoke about adapting a short into a feature, about capturing the nuance of memory. Then she said, "And special thanks to Allegra Davenport, whose concept breathed life into every frame. Without her vision, none of this happens." A ripple of applause filled the room. I sank into my seat, chest tight with pride. Jordan grinned and elbowed me. "You're a household name tonight." Afterwards, in the hall lined with posters, fans snapped photos and handed me their phones. "Can you sign this? Will you take a selfie?" A woman named Beth told me she'd driven 2 hours for opening weekend. "Your story changed my life," she said, tears in her eyes. I signed programs and smiled, telling her she'd made mine. Hours later, the after-party swirled at a repurposed loft downtown. Fairy lights glimmered overhead. Small plates of catered hors d'oeuvres circulated, and the buzz was electric. I navigated through clusters of critics, indie filmmakers, and industry execs. At the bar, Mark and Lucy held flutes of champagne. My pulse caught. Mark raised his glass. "Congratulations," he said, eyes earnest but uneasy. "We're really proud of you." Lucy offered a tight smile. "We loved the flower meadow scene. You can see your hand in that shot." I looked at them, recalled their rejections, their critiques, and the bruised pride that had festered in the years since. Yet here they were, paying homage to a story they once dismissed. I raised my own glass. "Thank you," I said, voice steady. "I'm glad you enjoyed it." They stepped back, letting me merge into a circle that included the film's cinematographer and the composer, who hummed the haunting score in a minor key. I laughed, feeling part of something bigger than the page. Before I could drift away, a tall man in a sharp blazer approached. He introduced himself as Daniel Harper, a senior VP at Blue Ribbon Studios. "I saw the film," he said, voice confident. "It's compelling with heart. We'd like to talk about a sequel, an expansion of the universe, maybe a streaming spin-off." He handed me his card. "Let's continue this conversation." I blinked. "Absolutely," I managed. The weight of possibility pressed against me like a promise. Jordan rounded the corner, spotting me with Harper. She slipped in beside me. "Looks like the night's not over," she whispered. I laughed. "Seems so." Later, back at my apartment, I dropped my bag on the floor and sank onto the sofa. My head throbbed with the echoes of laughter and applause. I turned on the TV and watched a late-night talk show clip, an interview with Emma Novak, who raved about Allegra Davenport's poetic voice. I traced my finger across the screen where my name appeared in the subtitles. I closed my eyes, savoring the moment before sleep claimed me. Weeks passed in a blur of meetings and deadlines. I met with Meridian's legal team to finalize a screenwriter credit upgrade, screenplay based on story by. We negotiated a split on sequel rights, ensuring I'd be writing the next installment. I sat in dim writers' rooms with Max Rivera, the hired screenwriter, brainstorming how Mara's journey could continue into urban settings, how the metaphor of wildflowers could drive a mystery in the city's abandoned lots. Lucy and Mark reached out again, email, text, even a lunch invitation at the cafe where we first met. They offered to collaborate on ancillary projects, a photographic coffee table book of sunflower landscapes, a whispered documentary about the film's evolution. I responded politely, promising to review proposals when time allowed. Their flattery felt laced with "why didn't you call us?" undertones. I let their messages go unanswered for days, then replied with a gentle thank you and my agent's contact. Meanwhile, I drafted the outline for Wildflower Reborn, the sequel. Mara returns to the town 2 years later, now caught in a cycle of redevelopment that threatens the fields she once saved. She must navigate corporate intrigue and rediscover the grassroots community that healed her. I worked late into nights, fueled by tea and the faint hum of my neighbor's TV. Every scene pulsed with possibility, childhood flashbacks, night blooming flower rituals, cinematic reveals that would outshine the original. As the film adaptation's buzz quieted, I found a new rhythm, mornings writing in my sunlit study, afternoons in production meetings, evenings at tastings hosted by the studio. I'd walked through the fire of rejection to stand center stage, name in lights, offering my stories to audiences hungry for something real. One sunny afternoon, I returned to the Sunset Writers Collective, notebook in hand. The workshop was empty except for the facilitator, an older man named Henry, who nodded as I entered. "Back for more feedback," I smiled. "I've got a new draft, a sequel to my first script." His eyes lit. "Let's hear it." I took the center seat, inhaled, and launched into the logline. He leaned forward, those same eager eyes that first critiqued Wildflower Season. I felt a connection, a circle completed. This time, I wasn't the hopeful freshman with a rough concept. I was a storyteller with credits, a creator with a platform, a woman who faced rejection and then watched her dream alchemize into a silver screen reality. When I finished, Henry tapped his pen. "That's powerful, cinematic. Can't wait to see it." I smiled, heart full, because now I knew even when they reject you twice, even when they buy tickets and applaud someone else's version of your voice, the one true script you hold, the story of your resilience, can never be taken from you. And it only grows stronger with every new draft.